think there is pirates in the back. Pirates in the back! Oh, you know what? I need my cape on. Exactly, just putting a mask on.
Yeah.
What time is it, Deal? Like on a scale of 1 to 10.
4 minutes. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.
All right, so my friends, just in case you haven't been to services in a long time, this is an interactive service. So when I say Shabbat Shalom, you get to say back Shabbat Shalom. It's like decent. There will be more opportunities throughout the evening. But we're going to start with a little music just to make sure that people are able to have this Shabbat experience together. So we're going to start with singing some easy words. We've been singing this song since COVID began, so it should be words that feel familiar. It says, Ozi v'zimrat ya. Ozi v'zimrat ya. Vayei li Yeshua, Ozi v'zimrat ya, Vayei li Yeshua. 343 if you want. Ozi v'zimrat ya, Vayei li Yeshua, Ozi v'zimrat ya, Vayei li Yeshua, Ozi v'zimrat ya, Vayei li Yeshua, Ozi v'zimrat ya, Vayei li Yeshua. Beautiful. So when we come together for services, and I know tonight especially because of the weather, which is not as bad as it was promised to be, but many of you told me you would be watching from home because of the weather. So we always make sure to remind people that whatever brings you here or here to services tonight, whether it's because of a celebration or because you're in a time of mourning or just because you come to learn or to be with family and friends, we hope that whatever you came here for tonight, that you find what it is you're looking for. But I know that for a bunch of the people who are spread kind of all over the sanctuary tonight, you guys are here because Spencer Corson is becoming bar mitzvah tomorrow. So it is my pleasure to invite up Emily and Josh and Spencer and Sloan and Graham to help us with our Shabbat candlelighting and our kiddush and motzi. So we're going to start with our candlelighting, which is on page 2. if you guys could still light, and then we'll help you say the blessings. Oh, Sloan, that is impressive. Wow.
Cigarettes.
We will not judge you. It's actually very impressive that you can do
one
that.
more time. Yeah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. All right, Spencer, fully being 13, even though you don't want to be in the photo, you do get to hold the chalice for the kiddush. So we
take up the big kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
L'chaim.
Yeah, it's just gist. Don't worry. All right, and then, Emily, if you want to unwrap the challah. So Mora Dayan did make us a beautiful challah tonight, which I'm sorry to say we're eating at home, but we also want to wish her and Michael again mazel tov. I cannot believe you brought us a challah on a day when you became grandparents. Again, you guys are amazing. So let's do our blessing together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. All right, Graham, go for it. Yes. Nicely done. Beautiful job. Thank you, guys. You can have a seats. So one of the things that we've been doing since the beginning of the pandemic is we've been trying to do a few different things with music, and every once in a while that means even writing some of our own tunes. But this is a tune that really we didn't write the words or the music, we just put them together. So for all of our music fans out there, you may know this one in English even if you don't in Hebrew, but the words for the Hebrew are Lecha Dodi on page 20, but you may catch on with at least the tune pretty soon. Lecha dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekabala Lecha dodi likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekabala Shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad Hishmiyanu el hamiuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad L'shem u'tiferet v'litzilah Remember me to the one who lives there. She once was a true love of mine. Beautiful. So I think that is a pretty good lead into what I want to do next. And I would love to see if I can ask Nancy and Betsy to come on up just for a moment. And then I'd also like to ask Cantor Patty Kaplan to come on up. If you are comfortable being up, y'all stand here and I'll stand here. So you may know these faces, but more importantly, you probably know these voices because Nancy and Betsy are here representing our Chavarat Shira choir. Now, we have a lot of members of the choir who are watching from home and who are watching. Most of them are trying to watch on Facebook so they can comment, and later on you can go and read their comments. But they're here because we wanted to let you know that Cantor Patty Kaplan, who has been leading our Chavarat Shira youth group, yes, also the youth group, sure. But our choir has decided to retire. Now, I want to tell you something about what it's like to lead a synagogue choir, because there is honestly probably no job that is more difficult in a synagogue than leading the choir. Because the truth is that the people who want to be able to bring their voices and their talents to the bima, some of them are like us, the clergy, some of them are congregational members, but all of us love to sing so much, and we don't want anyone to tell us how to do it. So it's very hard to be able to be the leader of that choir. But since Kinder Patty came here, she has been able to create for us the most beautiful sound of a choir who not only sounded so good when they would grace our bima during Shabbat services and high holiday services, but they truly became what we had always hoped they would be, which is a chavara, a group of friends who have been here to support each other and to love each other through thick and thin. And there has been a lot of thick and thin through these past years that you have been here. So what we wanted to do, and I will let Nancy and Betsy show you this. Now, this is a very funny gift because you don't get to keep it. But this is a leaf that is going on our celebration tree, our simcha tree, that we all chipped in to get for you, that just says that we are so very grateful for everything that you have brought to our community. And even though you aren't leading the choir anymore, you have just been such a gift to us. So thank you for your voice and for all you've done. And every once in a while you can clap. So this is... Please.
I just want to say that Rabbi Amy may imagine it to be a difficult job, but she forgot the part, it really wasn't, but she forgot the part about how wonderful it was to participate with the choir. And it was Amy's inspiration that brought it all together. So she really was the heart and soul of the choir and the choir members. So thank you so much. This is wonderful. Thank you. I love it. Thank you so much.
You can keep it for the service, and you got to give it back to me. And thank you to all of our choir members who are watching from home. Thank you, guys. So I'll ask you now, if you will, because we know that every time we come to a service, each of us is lifting our voices in song, even if you don't feel like you're ready to be a member of the choir. So I'm going to ask you all to rise on 28 and lift your voices in song as we join together in the words of the Baruch Hu. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. On the top of page 33.
As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
We join together in Shema on page 34. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod Ma ומלכותו לעולם הבא. Please be seated. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. On page 41, sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come, the song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. I forgot this one. You're totally right. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, oseh feleh, oseh feleh. This is why it's hard sometimes to make music on the bima. I'm like giving you cues.
But it was like a miracle.
No, you were totally right. It was like a miracle. Okay, so now Rabbi Michael makes fun of me because the truth is that every time that we sing Mi Chamocha, even though 4 to 5 times I do mess up the tune, but what I almost always say is still I remind people that this song, the Mi Chamocha, is about miracles, is about the fact that things can surprise you and happen when you least expect it. We always follow it up by singing the words of Hashkivenu that says that even if there is a miracle, even if something happens that is shocking and strange to you, that we know that we always need God's protection over us, that whatever it is that the world throws our way, that we need to still have that sukkah of peace, of shelter over us. So we sing the words of Hashkivenu on page 42, asking God to spread that shelter of peace and protection over us. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomrenu l'chayim, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, Amen. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomrenu l'chayim. And we'll turn now together to page 46, and I'll ask you to please rise for the words of tefillah. Adonai, sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehillatech. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avoteinu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el ha'gadol ha'gibor v'hanora, Elyon, gomel chasadim tovim, v'konei hakol, v'zocher chasdei avot v'imahot, u'mevi geula livnei v'neihem, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומיתו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הקום, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. Please be seated. So we're going to turn now to page 60. And we will offer prayers for peace, asking for peace in our country, for peace in our city, for peace in Israel and all around the world, with the words of Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. Ki ata melech adon lechol shalom. Ki ata melech adon lechol shalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol etz uv'chosha bishlomecha. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. So we're going to skip forward now all the way in our prayer service to page 253. And we take a few moments every time we come together in our worship to offer prayers of healing. So if there's someone that you're thinking of at this time who could use prayers of healing for mind or for body or spirit, and someone who you think would appreciate knowing that their names were being shared at this time, I'll invite you to say them now if you wish. Thank you. So we're thinking tonight of Leslie. We're thinking of Arlene Alper. We're thinking of Lisi Weinstein and Jerry Krause in our choir, of Aubrey McLean, of Ella. We're thinking of Kelly and of Drew Patchen, of Molly and Dan. We're thinking of Steve Zamler. And we're thinking of all those names that sometimes it's just hard to say. So for them and for us, we sing a Misha Berach. Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBaracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBaracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with Refuah Shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Ose shalom bimromav, Ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, Ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru Amen. So tomorrow morning, Spencer is going to read to us from the Torah. Spencer. And he's going to read from the story of Joseph. Now, the thing about the story of Joseph is this is the longest one in the entire Torah, which means that actually last week Sammy read about the story of Joseph, and next week Maddox is going to read about the story of Joseph because it is a really, really long story. So just in case you weren't here last week, or you're not going to be here next week, I'm just going to give you, maybe not on one foot because it's a little bit long, but I'm going to give you the story in a nutshell. So it starts with Jacob, and Jacob has a whole bunch of children, but his very favorite son, the son of his favorite wife, is Joseph. And he likes Joseph so much, first of all, because it's his favorite wife's only son, but also Joseph is super good looking. And also Joseph can interpret dreams. And he just has this way about him. And his dad loves him so much more than all of his brothers and his sister, which you can imagine make his brothers not like him very much. And so what they decide to do, what many siblings do when they realize they're not the favorite, is they decide that they should kill him. Just kidding. That's really not Graham. I'm looking at you, man. Okay, so no. So they do decide, though, that they should kill him. And they actually get so far as to go and they throw him into a pit. But at that moment, they realize, oh, no, they could actually make money off of this deal. And so instead of killing him, they sell him to a passing slave trader. So it really works out great for him. So Joseph gets sold into slavery, and things do not go very well for him because you may remember he was really, really good looking. And so the lady of the house sort of falls for him, and he, being a nice Jewish boy, is like, no, I'm not going to do that. And he ends up getting thrown into jail. Okay, so now Joseph is in jail. But remember that besides being really, really good looking, he is also really good at interpreting dreams. And so while he's in jail, he becomes known as this guy who can interpret your dreams. And it just so happens that at that time, Pharaoh has been having some nightmares. And so Pharaoh ends up pulling Joseph out of jail, telling him about all of his terrible dreams, asking what they mean. And Joseph not only is able to interpret them, but he's able to say to Pharaoh, you know what? I think I can help you. And he's able to come into Pharaoh's home and basically prevent all of Egypt from dealing with this terrible, terrible famine. By the way, that was like 3 weeks full of Torah portions, so you're welcome that I just did that. Okay, so now we get to this week's Torah portion. And Joseph is in Pharaoh's household. Everyone is doing great in Egypt, but in the rest of the Middle East, they're dealing with this famine. So now Joseph's brothers, who all this time thought that he was probably dead, or at least a slave somewhere, they decide that they're going to come to Egypt because they found that the food is good there, and they end up going and asking Joseph for help. No, they don't recognize Joseph because he looks like an Egyptian now, but Joseph recognizes them. And so he's able to basically play this trick on his brothers to find out if they have turned out to grow up to be good men, and they have. They have found some way to change, and they are better people now. So in the part that tomorrow Spencer is going to read from, he finally says to them, guess what? It's me, Joseph, your brother. And you can imagine they are not psyched at all, because here is the only guy who can help them, right, in the whole Middle East. And he's their brother who they tried to kill and then sold into slavery. So they are like, oh my gosh, this is not going to turn out well for us. But what Joseph says, and I had to write this down to make sure I say it exactly right, Joseph says to them, do not be troubled, do not be chagrined because you sold me here, for it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you. All right, so don't be upset because you sold me here. Don't be upset because it was to save lives that God sent me here. So the question for us tonight is, what does that mean? Why would Joseph say a thing like that? When you first look at it, it almost seems like maybe Joseph was truly trying to let his brothers off the hook because he was a wonderful person and had forgiven them. And I would love to think that that is the story. And there are some commentators who say it is, but frankly, I don't think it's true. You know, Joseph never really shows himself to be that great of a guy. So the idea that somehow he has had this incredible forgiveness in his life, and that is what has happened here, I think is not so likely. I think there is something more to this story. So maybe what it is that Joseph actually has just gotten to this point where he looks at the world around him and he's like, you know what, it is what it is. I got to go on with my life. But I want to say something about it is what it is. So like 10 years ago, I think it was maybe 10 years ago, shortly after Rabbi Michael and I moved to St. Louis, Rabbi Michael comes to me and he's like, why is it that St. Louisans always say it is what it is? Is that a St. Louis thing? And I was like, I don't know. Is it a St. Louis thing? I spend most of my life here. Maybe it is just something that people say. And I never thought about it before, but somehow once he started saying that, I started hearing it all the time, that people were constantly saying, it is what it is. And especially in these past months since the pandemic, we have been saying it more and more. Well, it is what it is. And here's the thing about it is what it is. There is something sort of beautiful in that, about this idea that you have made peace with your situation, even if there are terrible things around you. But it is what it is. It almost sounds defeatist. It almost sounds like a way of just giving up. Well, it is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. And I want to suggest that that's not, at least, a very Jewish approach. And I don't think that's what Joseph was trying to say. Instead, what I think Joseph is trying to say when he tells his brothers, don't be worried, God sent me here, is that Joseph is showing us this very Jewish idea about how, in part, we do believe that God has some sort of a plan for us, yet we also believe entirely in free will. Now, I know that seems to make no sense, but all the way back in the Torah, we seem to still have these two different ideas, that somehow God has this great plan for us, divine providence. Yes, hashgacha pratis is what they say in the Orthodox world, right? So God has a divine plan for us, but we still believe that somehow we can make our own decisions, that our path is ours. Now, medieval Jewish philosophers, they really spent a very long time thinking about this, but the best interpretation of this I've ever heard was by a medieval philosopher named Gersonides, or Levi ben Gershon. So if any of you have ever taken the theology or philosophy with me before, Gersonides is the guy who, when he talks about God, he refers to God as the order of existing things. He's super cool. Okay, so what Gersonides says about this idea of free will and divine providence is Gersonides says that God knows all of the choices that are out there for us, but God doesn't know which ones we are going to choose. So it's kind of like God has created this giant choose your own adventure book for us, right? I don't think they have those anymore, but for, those of you who are like 40 or so, you remember these books, right? Is the choose your own adventure book, but only we know what the adventure is that we're going to choose. Only we know, are you going to turn to page 42 and get eaten by a crocodile, or are you going to get turned to 72 and something else will happen? So God has all of these plans laid out, but only we know the path. And I think this is an incredibly important part of what it means to be a Jew, to still believe that there is some sort of divine plan out there for us, but it's not all in God's hands. And that you can't just say it is what it is, because at the end of the day, we are the ones who decide what our path ahead looks like. In the story of Joseph, this happens in a more important way than anywhere else in the Torah, because Joseph is all about change. And tomorrow, Spencer in his Devar Torah, he will go into this more, but what he says so beautifully is this idea that we do believe that people can change, that we do believe that situations can change, that it is not so much that God has created this path for us that we can't move from, but that we do have the ability to figure out what happened next. Maybe God put Joseph in this position of going to Egypt and being able to save his brothers, but he was the one in the end who could make the decision whether or not he was going to save them. So may we all find in our lives that when we are faced with a possibility of change, of looking at all the paths ahead of us, that we know that it is maybe a little bit in God's hands, but at the end of the day, it is on us to be able to make the decision that is right for us in the future and all the days to come. Shabbat Shalom. So I'm going to ask you now, if you will, we're going to turn to page 282, and I'll ask you to please rise for the words of the Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tet gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoyei ha'artzot, v'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo samchakenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol amonam, va'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, Lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. On page 287. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech hakol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad Ushamo echad.
The light of life is a finite flame. Like the Shabbos candles, life is kindled, it burns, it glows, it is radiant with warmth and beauty, but soon it fades, its substance is consumed, and it is no more.
We now recall the names of those the anniversary of whose death occurs on this Shabbat, and whose names have been inscribed in the archives of our congregation or on the Wall of Honor for perpetual memorial. Ida Arkin, Lloyd Myron Arkin, Irvin Davis, Molly Gelb Davis, Victoria Rose Dreyer, Harold Dubinsky, Elizabeth Eisman, Lulu Enoch, Edith Morgan Frank, Noel Frankel, Irma Gerchin, Lillian Kohani Glick, Erwin Toddy Goldman, Samuel Hacker, Anna Hagen, Dr. Nathan Hirschberg, Louis Hurwitz, Elliot Jacobs, Molly Kay, Sarah Lapman, Benjamin Liberman, Samuel Lowenstein, Harry Meyer, Charlie D. Miller, David Pasternak, Anita Lockmeyer-Prell, Rosalind Mahler-Puffles, Jacob Rabin, Annabelle Rittenbaum, Ida Spector Rosenberg, Ben William Sanders, Dr. Jacob Shermer, Philip Schiffer, Marguerite Friedman Schwartz, Teresa Schwartz, Martha Scher, Richard Scher, Richard Sosna, Sadie Fraley Sticks, Jeanette Studna, Molly Tannenbaum Cohn, Harry Tenenbaum, Rachel Wasserman, Charles Warner, Oscar Wildman, Arthur Zeev. So with these names and the names we keep in our hearts, we join together for the words of the Mourner's Kaddish on page 294. Yitzgadal v'yitzkadash shemei Rabbah, ba'alma divrach chirte v'yamlich malchute, b'chayachon uv'yomechon, uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv emru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach la'alam olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitramam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shemei dekudasha b'richu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, ta'amiran ba'ama, v'emru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'emru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'emru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort all who are bereaved. And we say, amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru amen. Please be seated. Right, before we turn to our closing song, I have to say, kids in the back, you guys were awesome. I totally doubted you, and I shouldn't have. You were super amazing. Spencer, if your friends are that good tomorrow, you will also get extra bonus points. But nicely done, Graham. You were also amazing. Well done, sir. You were amazing. I thought people might need some more parental supervision, but you guys were fantastic.
Very impressive.
So because it's the story of Joseph, and because we're honoring Patty tonight, and because it's my birthday month and I try to work it for as much as I can, Rabbi Michael has agreed that we can sing a song that you're more than welcome to sing along with. No, I don't think so.
No?
No.
Really?
Yeah, really. Give me an A for a sec. I close my eyes, drew back the curtain to see for certain what I thought I knew. Far, far away, someone was weeping, but the world was sleeping. Any dream will do. You know you want to sing along. I wore my coat with golden lining, bright colors shining, wonderful and new. And in the east, the dawn was breaking, and the world was waking. Any dream will do. A crash of drums, a flash of light, my golden coat flew out of sight. The colors faded into darkness, I was left alone. May I return to the beginning. The light is dimming, and the dream is too. The world and I, we are still waiting, still hesitating. Any dream will do. Patty, if you retire every week, we can sing Andrew Lloyd Webber every week. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Ed Goldberg is totally singing at home. Hi, Ed.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right.
Jess Bess, who is that?
We'll see you tomorrow, guys.
What? Wait, I gotta see.